Lesson 6.5, Dividing Polynomials. What are some ways to divide polynomials, and how do you know when the divisor is a factor of the dividend? 1. Long division. Long division is one way. Another way is synthetic division. Those are two ways to divide polynomials. How do you know when the divisor is a factor of the dividend? When r equals 0, when the remainder equals 0, you know that the divisor is a factor of the dividend. Evaluating a polynomial function using synthetic division. Polynomials can be written in something called nested form. A polynomial in nested form is written in such a way that evaluating it involves an alternating sequence of additions and multiplication. For instance, the nested form of p of x equals 4x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x plus 1 is p of x equals x times 4x plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, which you are evaluating by starting with 4, multiplying by the value of x, adding 3, multiplying by x, adding 2, multiplying by x, and adding 1. So let's try this. We have p of x, we've got p of x, and I'm going to write this in nested form. So that's going to equal x times 4x plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. So p of negative 2 will be, we start off with a 4 here, 4. And see, by starting off with a 4, multiplying by the value of x. So you've got 4 times negative 2. And that's going to equal negative 8. So we multiplied there. Second, we got negative 8. We're going to add 3. We're adding 3 right here. Add 3 plus 3. And that's going to give us negative 5. So we got our negative 5. And we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply by x. Multiplying by x. So that's going to be times negative 2. And that's going to give us positive 10. We'll take the 10. Let's see, we added here. Added there. We multiplied there. Now we're going to add again. We're going to add, and it says right here, we're going to add 2. So there's our 2 right there. So plus 2. And that's going to give us 12. Never supposed to be in parentheses there. That gives us 12. The next step is to multiply by x. Multiply by x. So we're going to multiply. And we've got 12 times negative 2. And that gives us negative 24. So negative 24. Negative 24. And again, we're going to add 1 plus 1. And that gives you negative 23. So we added here. Added 1. Multiplied by negative 2. We added 2. Multiplied by negative 2. We added 3. And multiplied by negative 2. So there's our steps. Does this work? Let's try it. Let's put this 4x cubed plus 3x squared plus 1 plus 2x plus 1 in the calculator. Substituting negative 2 in for the x. Let's try that. So we've got 4, and then we'll put the negative 2 in for the x. 4x cubed plus, and then what was the next step? 3x squared. So we have 3 open parentheses negative 2 squared. And then the third one was plus 2x plus 2. Again, we'll put the negative 2 in for the x. And then we added 1 to that. And we got negative 23. Negative 23 here, negative 23 there. So it does work. You can use this, kind of do it in your head, and make it much easier. Another way is you can set up an array of numbers that captures the sequence of multiplications and additions needed to find P of A. Using this array to find P of A is called synthetic substitution. Given P of x equals 4x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x plus 1, find P of negative 2 using synthetic substitution. The dashed arrow indicates bringing down. The diagonal arrows represent multiplication by negative 2, and the solid arrows indicate adding. So let's do this. First, we bring the 4 down. So we got the 4 here. And then negative 2 times negative 4 gives you negative 8. Negative 8. 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. Negative 5. So you can see that here. You got negative 5. 2 times negative 5 gives you 10. And you can see that there. 2 plus 10 is 12. Now we take the negative 2, multiply it by 12, and we get negative 24. Negative 24. Let's get that out a little bit. Negative 24. 1 plus negative 24 gives you negative 23. That's what we got last time, wasn't it? Negative 23. So P of negative 2 is negative 23. After the final addition, what does this sum correspond to? What does this sum? So P of negative 2 equals negative 23. What does that correspond to? It's the value. It is the value of P of x when x equals negative 2. And we saw that in the calculator. We did that several different ways. Dividing polynomials using long addition. Now go ahead and read that and follow along. And when you get back, we'll do B together. Glad you're back. So we have 6x to the 4th plus 5x cubed plus 2x plus 8 divided by x squared plus 2x minus 5. Now, when you're going to do long division or synthetic division, you're going to want, so you got 4, 3. You don't have an x squared in here. Where's your x squared? You're going to want to put a placeholder in for that. And to do that, you just multiply it by 0. 0x squared. 0x squared is 0, so you're not really adding any value to it. So we're going to write it in standard form. And that would be 6x to the 4th plus 5x cubed plus 0x squared plus 2x plus 8. So now it's in standard form because you have 4th, 3, 2, 1, and the constant. Write the division in the same way as you would dividing numbers. So you have x squared plus 2x minus 5, and you're dividing that into 6x to the 4th plus 5x cubed plus 0x squared plus 2x plus 8. Now, they've done a bunch of stuff here, and I'm not sure you can follow along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I got x squared plus 2x minus 5, and then we'll do it all together here. We'll do it all together. So we have 6x to the fourth plus 5x cubed plus 0x squared plus 2x plus 8. All right. Step 1, we want to turn this x squared into 6x to the fourth. To do that, we're going to multiply x squared by 6x squared. So we got 6x squared. 6x squared times x squared. Notice how I put that above the x squared. It just kind of keeps it linear, and it helps me. 6x squared times x squared gives you 6x to the fourth. 6x squared times 2x gives you plus 12x cubed. 6x squared times negative 5 is minus 30x squared. Now see why you got to put the placeholder in there? If you didn't have that spot, it would get really bunched up quick. So we're going to subtract this. 6x to the fourth minus 6x to the fourth is 0. So those cancel out. 5x cubed minus 12x cubed is negative 7x cubed. 0x squared minus negative 30, that would be plus 30x squared. So you got plus 30x squared. Now you want to bring your 2x down. So you got plus 2x. Good. Now we need to turn this x squared into a negative 7x cubed. So I'm going to multiply it by minus 7x. Negative 7x times x squared is negative 7x cubed. Negative 7x times 2x would be minus 14x squared. And negative 7x times negative 5 would be plus 35x. Again, we're going to subtract the second line from the first. These cancel out. If they don't cancel out, you know you've multiplied wrong. 30x squared minus negative 14x squared would be positive 44x squared. 2x minus 35x would be minus 33x. Now it's time to bring the 8 down. Plus 8. Again, you want to turn x squared and now into 44x squared. So we're going to multiply it by positive 44. 44 times x squared is 44x squared. 44 times 2x is plus 88x. And then 44 times negative 5 will be minus 220, I believe. Let's see. 5 times, 220. All right, let's subtract the second line from the first line like we did before. So these will cancel out. Negative 33 minus 80, negative 33x minus 88x is going to be negative 121x. 8 minus negative 220, that's going to be 8 plus 220, which is plus 228. All right, good. So our final answer is 6x to the fourth plus 5x cubed plus 2x plus 8 equals x squared plus 2x minus 5, our divisor, times 6x squared minus 7x plus 44, and then plus our remainder here of minus 121x plus 228. Now we need to do a check. So let's do a check. And the way we do a check is we just multiply across here. So we've got equals x squared times 6x squared would be 6x to the fourth. X squared times negative 7x would be minus 7x cubed. X squared times 44 would be plus 44x squared. Now let's do the 2x times 6x squared would be plus 12x cubed. 2x times negative 7x would be minus 14x squared. And 2x times 44 would be plus 88x. Now let's do the negative 5. I'm going to use a different color. Let's see. Let's do this in here. Minus 5. Minus 5 times negative 5 times 6x squared would be minus 30x squared. Minus 30x squared. Negative 5 times negative 7x would be plus 35x. Negative 5 times 440 would be minus 220. And then we have our remainder, minus 121x plus 228. Got kind of long, didn't it? So we got 6x to the fourth. Are there any? There's no other x to the fourth, so we got 6x to the fourth. Minus 7x cubed plus 12x cubed. Any other x cubes? Nope. So that's going to give us plus 5x cubed. And next we have 44x squared minus 14x squared minus 30x squared. So those just all cancel out. Good, good, good. And then let's try here. Plus 88x plus 35x. Let's see, 88 and 35. That's 80 and 30 is 110, 118, 123. So you got 123 minus 120. That's going to give you plus 2x. And then that there cancel out. So now you got negative 220 plus 228. That's going to give you plus 8. And if you'll notice, these two are the exact same thing. So this is your final answer. That's your final answer. It works. It works. Good. How do you include the terms with coefficients of x squared? Well, you're not adding any value because 0 times x squared is just 0, right? So you're not adding any value. You're just using it mostly as a placeholder. So that when you're doing your division, it doesn't actually get everything all choked up or munched together. Use long division to find the quotient and remainder. Write the result in the form of the dividend equals divisor times quotient times plus remainder, and then carry out a check. So let's take a look at this. What do we got? Are we missing anything? We're missing an x squared, aren't we? So we're going to have 3x squared plus 6x plus 1, and we're going to divide that into, and this is going to be 15x cubed. There's no x squared, so we're going to put plus 0x squared plus 8x, and then minus 12. Notice how I'm giving myself plenty of room, so I can keep everything spread out and it does not bunch and get complicated. So let's start out. We need to turn this 3x squared into a 15x cubed. So I'm going to multiply it by 5x. I think 5x will do. 5 times 3 is 15. X times x squared is x to the third. Good, it worked. 5x times 6x would be plus 30x squared. And then 5x times 1 would be just plain 5x. If you'll notice, these two cancel out, which is what you wanted. 0 minus 30 would be negative 30x squared. 8x minus 5x will be plus 3x. And we're going to bring our 12 down, minus 12. Good. Now I need to turn this 3x squared into a negative 30x squared. So I'm going to multiply it by negative 10. Negative 10 times 3x squared is negative 30x squared. Negative 10 times 6x is minus 60x. Negative 10 times 1 is negative 10. Negative 10. All right. Now, again, we're going to want to subtract the second line from the first. So these two here cancel out. You got 3 minus negative 60. That's going to be positive 63x. And negative 12 minus negative 10 is negative 12 plus 10 or minus 2. So this is our remainder. That's our remainder. So when we write all this out, I'm going to need a little more room here. When we write all this out, we're going to have, we got 15x cubed plus 8x minus 12 equals, and then our divisor, 3x squared plus 6x plus 1 times, and what do we get here? We got 5x minus 10, 5x minus 10, and then we got to add in our remainder, plus 63x minus 2. So let's do our check now. Equals, and then we got 3x squared times 5x, that's going to be 15x cubed. 3x squared times negative 10, that's going to be minus 30x squared. Let's do the 6x. 6x times 5, that's going to be plus 30x squared. 6x times negative 10 is going to be minus 60x. And let's do the 1. 1 times 5x is going to be just 5x. 1 times negative minus 10. And then let's add in our remainder, plus 63x minus 2. So what do we end up with? 15x cubed. All right, is there any? Nope. So that's 15x cubed. And then you've got minus 30x squared plus 30. So those cancel out. Are there any other? No other x cubes. All right. So we got negative 60x here, negative 60x there, plus 5x, plus 63x. So negative 60 plus that's going to be 3. 3 plus 5 is plus 8x. Good, good. And negative 10 minus 2 will give you minus 12. And this matches that, so it worked. We got it. Good deal. Number 4. Why don't you stop the video for a second, take a look at it, and see what you can do with it, and then we'll work it together. Glad you're back. So we got x squared plus 16. Now we're missing an x. I like to go ahead and put it in there. So I got x squared plus 0x plus 16. That way I don't forget anything. And you know me, I'm bad to forget things. So we've got 9x to the 4th plus x cubed plus 11x squared. And I don't have an x, so I'm going to put plus 0x minus 4. Again, I gave myself lots of room. Lots of room. This time I'm going to start over here. So I need to make this 9x to the 4th, so I got to multiply it by 9x squared. 9x squared times x to the 4th is 9x to the 4th. 9x squared times 0x is 0x cubed. All right. So again, I'm not missing it. 9x squared times 16. 9 times 6, that's 90. And 9 times 6 is 54. So that's 144x squared plus 144x squared. See, it's getting kind of bunchy there. I don't like it when it gets kind of bunchy. Just want to make errors. So These two cancel out, so you got 1 minus 0 is just 1, so you got x cubed. And then 11 minus 144, that's going to be minus 133x squared. And we're going to bring this plus 0x down. So x squared, we need to multiply it by x. So x times x squared is x cubed. X times 0x, that's going to be plus 0x squared. X times 16 will be plus 16x. And I'm going to subtract the second line from the first. These cancel out. Negative 133 minus 0 is just negative 133x squared. And 0 minus, that's going to be minus 16x. So now I need to multiply by negative 133, and that's going to give me negative 133x squared. Negative 130 times 0, that's going to be plus 0x. Negative 133 times 16, and I meant to bring this negative 4 down, so that's minus 4. Negative 133 times 16, let's see here. Let's see, 133 times 16, that's 18, 19, 7 at 133, that's 8, 12, 11, 21, 28. So that's going to be negative 133. That's going to be minus 21, 28. And again, we're going to subtract those. These cancel out. Negative 16 minus 0 is just negative 16x. Negative 4 minus, that's going to be plus 21, 24. So we got negative 16x plus 2124. Now we need to write it out and do our check. So to do that, I'm going to need to get me some space here. Let's do this. That's too high. And do it like that. There we go. Now we got some space. So roll this up just a hair so I can see where I was at. So let's see here. 9x to the fourth plus x cubed plus 11x squared minus 4 equals, our divisor is x squared plus 16 times 9x squared plus x minus 133, and then minus, let's do this in red because this is our remainder, minus 16x plus 2124. All right. So now it's time to do the check. So we're going to start off with x squared. X squared times 9x squared is 9x to the fourth. X squared times x is plus x cubed. X squared times minus 133 is minus 133x squared. Now let's do the 16. 16 times 9. I feel like I've already done that. 16 times 9. 16 times 9. 144. 16 times 9 is 144. So we've got plus 144x squared. 16 times x is plus 16x. And then 16 times negative 133. I feel like I've already done that too. That's 16 times, it's going to be negative 2128. I've already done those, hadn't I? Did them right up here, didn't it? 2128. And then we have our remainder, minus 16x plus 2124. All right, let's take a look here. We've got 9x to the fourth. Do we have any others? No others. So that's going to equal 9x to the fourth. We have x cubed. X cubed. Any other x cubes? No other x cubed. So we got plus x cubed. Now let's see here. X squared. X squared. We've got negative 133. Negative 133x squared plus 144. That's going to give you positive 11x squared. Any others? Nope. Plus 11x squared. And then we've got 16x minus 16x. So those two cancel out. Good, good. And then negative 2128 plus 2124 will give you minus 4. And this and those, they are equal. They're the same thing. So that worked out real well. Good. Dividing p of x by x minus a using synthetic division. You want to compare long division with synthetic division. You're going to like the synthetic division a whole lot better. It's much easier. Go ahead and read all that. Follow A. And then when you get down here to B, we'll do B together. All right, I'm glad you're back. So what you're going to do, this x minus 1/2, set it equal to 0. So that gives you x equals 1/2. This is our A. We found our A. Our A is 1/2. Okay, so you want to put 1/2 in this box here. 1/2 in that box. All right. Now you want to bring down, it says bring down the first coefficient. Bring down the first coefficient. So we've got 1/2 in this box. We bring the 4 down. Now, remember that multiply? 1/2 times 4 equals 2. So we're going to put a 2 here. 0 plus 2, 0 plus 2 equals 2. Multiply, add, so we got 2 here. Now we're going to have 1/2 times 2, and that's going to give us 1. So we got 1 here. We're going to do negative 3 plus 1, and that gives us negative 2. So we got negative 2 here. Okay. Multiply again. So you got 1/2 times negative 2, and that's going to equal negative 1. So let's put a negative 1 right here. 7, and then we have 7 plus negative 1. That's going to give you 6. So we've got a 6 here. Multiply again. You got 1/2 times 6, and that gives you 3. So we have a 3 here. Add one more time. 2 plus 3 gives you 5. 2 plus 3 gives you 5. Now, write your result. So you're going to have our divisor. That was x minus 1/2. And let's go. Now, we started out x to the fourth. Well, we got 4, and we divided out an x, so we got 4x cubed plus 2x squared minus 2x plus 6. And then let's put all of that in parentheses. And then we've got plus 5, and that's our remainder. Plus 5 is our remainder. So we need to do a check. We need to do a check. So let's start off with, all right, that equals x times 4x cubed. That's going to give you 4x to the fourth. That's x times 4. x times 2x squared will be plus 2x cubed. X times negative 2x would be minus 2x squared. And x times 6 would be plus 6x. Now let's do the negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 times 4 would be minus 2x cubed. Minus 1/2 times 2 would be 1, negative 1, so you got negative x squared. Negative 1/2 times negative 2 would be positive, that would be positive x. And then negative 1/2 times 6 would be minus 3. And then don't forget your remainder of plus 5. So let's see, what do we got here? 4x to the 4th, that's all we got. So it equals 4x to the 4th. Good. And let's go over here. We've got plus 2x cubed minus 2x cubed. You got plus 2x cubed minus 2. So those will cancel out. X cubed cancel out. Good. And now you got minus 2x squared minus x squared. Any other x squared? Nope. So that's going to give you minus 3x squared. And let's see here. You've got 6x here, plus 6x, plus x right there. So it's going to give you plus 7x. And then that's everything but minus 3 plus 5. That's going to give you plus 2. If you'll notice, these are both the same, so it worked. Good job. Good job. Can you use synthetic division to divide by a polynomial x squared plus 3? Unfortunately, no. No. Must be linear. Must be linear. Linear polynomial. And in case you wonder what linear is, that would be like x plus 3. All right. This x squared plus 3 here, that is a quadratic, and it just don't work. Your turn. Given a polynomial p of x, use synthetic division to divide by x minus a and obtain the quotient and the non-zero remainder. Write the result in the form of p of x equals x minus a times the quotient plus the remainder, p of a. You may wish to perform a check. All right, so let's try this. Let's try this. 6. And you got 2x cubed plus 5. Okay, good. 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. And x minus 2. So x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 2. So we're going to put 2 in the box here. 2 in the box. And then our coefficients, 2, 5, negative 1, and 7. So let's try this. First, we bring the 2 down. Bring the 2 down, and that gives you 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. 2 plus 2 times 9 is 18. Negative 1 plus 18 is 17. 2 times 17 is 34. And then 7 plus 34 is 41. So 41 is our remainder. So what did we end up with? Well, we've got 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus x plus 7 equals our divisor, that's x minus 2 times, what did we end up with? Well, let's write that out. Let's write that. That is 2x squared, because you divided out an x squared, plus 9x plus 17, and then your remainder of 41. So we've got 2x squared plus 9x plus 17, and then plus, and I'll write it over here, 41. So we need to do the multiplication. X times 2x squared, that's going to equal x times 2x cubed. X times 9x is going to be plus 9x squared. X times 17 will be plus 17x. Now let's do the minus 2 times 2x will be minus 4x squared. Negative 2 times 9x would be minus 18x. Negative 2 times 17 would be minus 34. And then don't forget about your plus 41, your remainder there. All right. So 2x cubed. Are there any other x cubes? I don't see any other x cubes. So we got that 2x cubed. You got 9x squared, and you got minus 4x squared. Any other x squareds? So that's going to give you plus 5x squared. And you got 17x minus 18x and no other x's. So you got minus x. And then on the end, you got negative 34 plus 41. I believe that gives you plus 7. Let's check. 2x cubed, 5x squared, minus x. They're both the same, so that worked. Good, good. Go ahead and stop the video for a second. And when you get back, we'll do this next one here together. I believe it's 5 or 7. We'll do 7. All right, glad you're back. Let's take a look here. Are we missing anything? We're missing an x squared, aren't we? So we've got x plus 1/3 equals 0. So x equals negative 1/3. We're going to put negative 1/3 in the box. So our coefficients are 6, negative 25, 0. Well, I got to put in a spot for that x squared. Negative 3 and 5. All right, let's do this. Step 1. Bring the 6 down. So we got 6. Negative 1/3 times 6 is negative 2. Add those together and you get negative 27. Negative 27. All right. Negative 1/3 times negative 27, that gives you a positive 9. 0 plus 9 is 9. Negative 1/3 times 9 is negative 3. Add those together and you get negative 6. And then negative 1/3 times negative 6 is positive 2. Add those together and you get 7. So here's our remainder. We started out with x to the 4th, so we're going to have 6x cubed minus 27x squared plus 9x minus 6 with a remainder of 7. So how do we write this? You have 6x to the 4th minus 25x cubed minus 3x plus 5. And that's going to equal, our divisor is x plus 1/3 times, and what did we get here? We got 6x cubed minus 27x squared plus 9x minus 6, and then plus 7, our remainder right here. So we need to do our check. First, let's multiply the x across. We'll multiply the x. X times 6x to the 3rd would be 6x to the 4th. X times negative 27, that's minus 27x cubed. X times 9x would be plus 9x squared. X times negative 6 would be minus 6x. Let's do the 1/3. And you think, ooh, fraction. Well, look at these are all multiples of 3, so it's easy. 1/3, that's going to give you plus 2x cubed. 1/3, that's going to be minus 9x squared. 1/3 times 9x, that's going to be plus 3x. 1/3 times, that's going to be minus 2. And then don't forget about your plus 7, your remainder out here. So let's check what do we got. 6x to the 4th. Is there any other x to the 4th? No. So that equals 6x to the 4th. Good. So let's check this 27. Minus 27x cubed plus 2x cubed. So that's going to give us minus 25x cubed. All right, good, good. We got 9x squared minus 9x squared. So those two cancel out. No more 9x squared, or no more x squareds. And let's try minus 6x plus 3x. No more. So that's going to be minus 3x. And negative 2 plus 7 gives you plus 5. All right, let's check it. They are the exact same thing. So that worked out real well. Good deal. Good job. Using the remainder theorem and factor theorem. When p of x is divided by x minus a, the result can be written in the form of p of x equals x minus a times q of x plus r, where q of x is a quotient and r is a number, the remainder. Substituting a for x in this equation gives p of a equals a minus a times q of a plus r. Since a minus a is 0, this simplifies to p of a equals r. This is known as the remainder theorem. If the remainder p of a in p of x equals x minus a times q of x plus p of a is 0, then p of x equals x minus a times q of x, which tells you that x minus a is a factor of p of x. Conversely, if x minus a is a factor of p of x, then you can write p of x as p of x equals x minus a times q of x. And when you divide p of x by x minus a, you get the quotient q of x with a remainder of 0. These facts are known as the factor theorem. All right, go through A here and then stop the video and go through A pretty good. And then when you come back, we'll do B together. So let's try this. What do you got? P of x equals x to the 4th minus 4x cubed minus 6x squared plus 4x plus 5. 4, 3, 2, 1, good. All right, times and then x plus 1. So we set x plus 1 equal to 0, and that gives you x equals negative 1. So negative 1 goes in the box, and that's what we got there. Bring our 1 down. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 4 plus negative 1 is negative 5. Negative 1 times negative 5 is 5. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. So we have a 0 in here. Since the remainder is 0, x plus 1 is a factor. Q of x equals, remember we started out with x to the 4th, so this will be x cubed, 1x cubed, minus 5x squared, minus 1x, plus 5. Now we can factor by grouping. So what we're going to do is we're going to group the first two and then group the back two. So we've got x cubed minus 5x squared, and I'm going to be plus negative x plus 5. Let's group them. We'll group the first two and we'll group the last two. What can we take out of here? We can take an x squared. What does that leave us with? That leaves us with x minus 5. Now, we've got negative x plus 5. We can take a negative 1 out. And what does that leave us with? That leaves us with x minus 5. x minus 5. Notice the 2 in red, they're both the exact same thing. So we have x squared minus 1, x squared minus 1 times x minus 5. Good, good, good. X squared minus 1, isn't that a difference of perfect squares? So this is x minus 1 times x plus 1 times x minus 5. So what do we have here? Well, originally we had x plus 1 up there. Originally we had x plus 1 up here. So we've got x plus 1, and then we've got down here x minus 1 times x plus 1 times x minus 5. Wow, you have just factored a fourth degree polynomial. Isn't that cool? That is so cool. All right. Let's do a your turn. It's time for a your turn. Your turn. Determine whether the given binomial is a factor of the polynomial p of x. If it is, find the remaining factors of p of x. So we have x plus 4. We'll set that equal. So we got x equals negative 4. All right, negative 4 in the box. We got 4, 3. Oh, we don't have a 2. We don't have an x squared, so we got to put it. We got 2, 8, 0, 2, 8. All right, let's try this. Bring the 2 down. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 minus 8 is 0, or 8 plus negative 8 is 0. Negative 4 times 0 is 0. Bring the 0 down. Negative 4 times 0 is 0. 2 plus 0 is 2. And then negative 4 times, that's going to be negative 8. And our remainder is 0. Okay. So this started out as x to the 4th. So this will become 2x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x plus 2. So we have, what do we have now? We have 2x cubed plus 2. Can we factor that? Sure. That 2, and that gives you x cubed plus 1. And that is a sum of perfect cubes, right? So that becomes 2 times x plus 1 times x squared minus x plus 1. And then don't forget our original x plus 4 over here. So we got x plus 4. Those are the factors. Those are the factors. So let's see. 2x to the 4th plus 8x cubed plus 2x plus 8 equals 2 times x plus 1 times x squared minus x plus 1 times x plus 4. Okay, I didn't factor this anymore. Why? Because it's irreducible. We can't factor that anymore. So negative 4 was in fact a factor. Let's try this over here. Let's try number 9. Let's try number 9. You got x minus 1 equals 0, so x equals 1. We got 1 in the box. And Q3, we don't have an x squared, so we got to put a 0 there. We got negative 2x, negative 2, and then 5. So let's bring the 3 down. 1 times 3 is 3. Bring the 3 down. 1 times 3 is 3. And that gives us 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And then 5 plus 1 is 6. So R equals 6. Our remainder equals 6. So x minus 1 is not a factor of 3x cubed minus 2x plus 5. All right, good. That's good news. That means you're done with that. All right. Compare long division and synthetic division of polynomials. Really, it's the same process. It's the same process. Same process. You get the same answer. You got some of the same steps. The really neat thing about synthetic division is you get rid of all the x's. You get rid of all the x's so that you're only working with the coefficients. That's what's really cool about it. How does knowing one linear factor of a polynomial help find the other factors? Well, if you know one of them, you can use synthetic division. Use synthetic division to make it smaller, and then you might use grouping or something to factor it. So you can use synthetic division to make it smaller. What condition must be met in order to use synthetic division? Well, I can think of two. One, the leading coefficient must be equal to 1. The leading coefficient has to be equal to 1. And the second one is the divisor must be a linear binomial. Okay, and what is meant by that is like x plus some number, and we'll just use a. That's a linear binomial. Essential question: how do you know when the divisor is a factor of the dividend? Well, when your remainder is 0. When your remainder is 0. All right, folks, that's all of today's lesson. Enjoy your evening. I'll see you in class tomorrow.